Clear cut in the religion that we don't need a scholar to tell us. We don't need a fatwa to tell us. It's clear cut. For example, we don't need a scholar to say a fatwa 5 times a day. Everyone's got to know 5 times, five daily prayers. There's not 3. There's not 2.5. There's not 3. There's 5. Prescribed prayer. As-salat al-farida. There's 5. Now, if someone comes along now and tells us, well, you know what, I looked at some hadith, right? Didn't find the number 5 in there for the salah, for the prayer. I think it's 4, maybe 3, but 4. Let's stick with 4. Let's be sure there's 4. What would you all think? You think he's right? Do you think that scholar will be right? Why not? Because it's so clear cut in the religion. If someone says now, for example, that yeah, you know what? I'm not saying scholars would do this necessarily on these examples. I'm just giving you a basic example because we're going to talk about the issue that I want to talk about. If someone comes along and says, oh, riba is allowed, interest is allowed, we know from our religion it's pretty clear cut. You don't need a scholar. Even if a scholar comes along and starts to fiddle around with saying riba, well, maybe it's allowed in some circumstances. No, it's allowed. You know, we know straight away, actually, you know what, Sheikh? I don't know what happened to you there, right? But it's haram. We all know this. Even a nursery schoolboy will know it's haram to a schoolboy. In primary school and secondary school will know it's haram. These are things that are clear cut in the religion. Now anyone who comes along and makes or gives a fatwa, says something that goes against things that are so clear cut in the religion, like you got to pray, you got to fast, you got to do hajj, you can't have riba, you can't steal people's property, you can't steal, you can't do zina, you can't have a zoo, you can't get lagging, you can't have all these things. These are all haram. And someone comes along and tries to tell us, yeah, it's all right from Islam, we know straight away he's got it wrong. We don't have to be a scholar. We know Islam teaches us you can't cheat. You can't lie, you can't disrespect your parents, you can't shout at them, you can't slam the door in their face, you can't say a bad word to them, you can't swear at them. We know you got to keep your family ties. You know you got to have love between brothers for the sake of Allah. And it's one of our aspects of our religion. Someone comes along and says, yeah, you know, Muslims, you shouldn't love each other for the sake of Allah. If someone comes along and says, yeah, say F off to your parents. Someone comes along and says, yeah, start cheating. We know these things are haram. Qat'an. Absolutely haram. We don't need a scholar to tell us these things are haram. Similarly, and as the talks that you've been going to and brothers have been doing up and down the city and up and down the country, we know definitely, without doubt, there's not even any doubt that Allah made us and Allah has given us laws to follow. He decides what law we should follow and what we should stay away from and what we should do. This is so basic. We know straight away. Anyone read the Qaida? You know, the Arabic thing that we have to read, and we've got beats. Yeah, but on Saturday and Sunday, yeah, for not being able to do it. Yeah, Qaida. If you see, there's a little box at the bottom. If you go back home, have a look. It says Imanul Mujammal and Imanul Mufassal. آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله اليوم الآخر وقدر خيره وشره من الله تعالى وبعد بعد الموت. If you go back to the Qaida, you see that. Then it's آمنت بالله وأحكامه, you know, and all these things, you see it. It's written there. It says, and I believe in Allah, and I believe in all His ahkam, all His laws. It's funny, even our parents were teaching that when we were young. We probably didn't realise it then because we wanted to do something else. We didn't want to do fara. We didn't want to read. You know, but if you go back to the Qaida, it's a book called Qaida, it means principles. Yeah, it doesn't mean Al-Qaida, the group, yeah? If you go back there, it means Qaida, the Arabic, alif, ba, ta, tha, you know, we have to read. Yeah, so go back there, check it. The Iman in general, the Iman in detail. It's in there. So we know, basically, we have to follow Allah's ahkam. We can't change it. We can't make haram what is made halal. And we have to follow Allah as being the only lawgiver, the only musharri'. Only Allah is allowed to tell us what we're allowed to do or not. This is so clear cut in the religion. But what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, some scholars, you know, for many reasons, for one reason or another, were giving fatwa to not only encourage Muslims, but to tell them it was a religious duty to go and vote for a secular party. You see, we know, brothers, voting by itself is not haram. We know this. There's voting in Islam. But we haven't got an issue with that. The issue when scholars tell us it's a duty. Some even said wajib, isn't it? It's a wajib. You got to vote for a secular party, either Liberal Democrats, Labour, whatever it is, Conservatives. You have to do it as a Muslim. Whoa, it gets a bit problematic now here. But hang on, we know it's clear cut in our religion that, hang on, only Allah can tell us what we can do, what we can't do, what we have to follow, what's right, what's wrong, what's halal, what's haram. And then we're told to go and give our a tick on the box for a party that will go into a parliament and make laws. Hang on, let's rewind, hold back. We've got to go vote for a party that is going to go into a parliament and is going to make some legislation. But we know that Allah is the only one who can tell us what to do and to legislate. We've got a conflict here. So we know straight away, anyone who gives that kind of fatwa, not because we don't like them, not because, we hate them and things like this, not because of that, it's not because personal. And he gave me dirty looks, that Imam said when I was walking down the road, it's not because of that. It's because he's made or she has made a mistake. Somewhere along the line, the wheels are buckled a bit. They've got it wrong. Because they're going against something clear-cut in the religion. Something that goes against something clear-cut in the religion. You see, what our scholars do, they make a distinction, they make a division between the law, the Sharia, the law, and the facts, or the waqi', the reality. Now what our scholars say is that you've got two things now. You've got what the law says, what Sharia says, and you got how things are, the states of affairs, the way things are in reality, what we call the facts. And so in law we call this the fact-law distinction. There's two different things. Right, the Sharia, the law. Who are the people qualified to understand Sharia? The scholars, isn't it? The imams, the scholars. They're qualified to understand about Islamic law. Why? Because they studied it, they've learned it for many years and so on, they're trained in it. But just because our scholars are experts in law doesn't mean they're experts in the facts. So for example, just because a scholar is an expert in Sharia doesn't mean that they're going to know the water cycle inside out in geography. Does that mean that they're going to know all the biology they study at school? Does that mean they know how the immune system functions? Does that mean they're experts in medicine? Does that mean they're experts in astronomy? Does that mean they're experts in engineers? Does that mean they're experts in the way the world is? The way the reality is? No. All of us can study the facts, the reality. And a scholar's understanding of the reality could be wrong. And we're allowed to question the scholar here. This is where this understanding of having uncritical, closed-eyed obedience to the scholars gets dangerous. Now I want to just read an ayah and I'll go through the tafsir a bit very, very quickly. But in the Sharia, our scholars, about salah, hajj, zakat, soul, marriage, inheritance, they are proficient in that. But when it comes to the facts, the reality, they can make mistakes. They have to go to experts to find out information about it, because it's specialized knowledge. Medicine, as I said, is another area. Just because an imam or a sheikh is so knowledgeable in Sharia, it doesn't mean they're going to know all the realities of medicine, all the realities of how, the weather and how it functions. All these things about the world, the sciences, the reality, politics, political philosophy, sociology, all these things everyone can understand, and a scholar can be wrong in these areas. And we're allowed to question them in these areas. But some people want to say you're not allowed to question them. You're not allowed to question them. And that, brothers, is mistaken. We have the right to question our scholars and ask them in the most respectful way, Sheikh, I think you may have got it mistaken.